Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is the real reason the Clippers are playing so poorly. So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also be on the lookout for our Dreamerspro Premium community, and also be on the lookout for Dreamerspro.com. So anyway, let me get into this topic here. So, thus far this season, I think we can all say that the Clippers have been a better team this season, right? They have a better coach in Tyronn Lue. I think at this point, I think it's pretty clear about that. They've added some better players, or players that are better suited for this team in Serge, Nicholas Batum, Luke Kennard. I think these are upgrades from Montrez. They lost John Michael Green, who I think Nicholas Batum was supposed to replace. And this guy, John Michael Green, who was coming off the bench, a player that I like now, Nicholas Batum, ended up being a starter, averaging about 10 points per game. Then they got Luke Kennard, who was supposed to replace Landry Shamet, who I think is doing a better job than Landry Shamet, although he can continue to come along. They got him. Serge has been, an upgrade from Montrez, in my opinion. So they got that. They have a better offense. As you can see, the Clippers are leading the league in 3-point shooting percentage. I think they're leading the league with most makes, and they're a more efficient team this year overall. If you look at free throw percentage, I think they're the number one team in the NBA with free throw percentage. If you look at Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, both of these guys are having fantastic individual seasons. They're both averaging around 25 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5+ assists. But it's their efficiency. They're both having Paul George is having a 50, 40, 90 season, and Kawhi Leonard is having a similar season, and getting you almost 2 steals per game. And I think these are one of the candidates, possibly one of them, the candidates for a regular season MVP if they continue to play well and they continue to win. It seems like players this year know their role. There's a clear pecking order on the Clippers. Last year, that seemed to be a question. Maybe Lou Williams still thought it was his team, maybe because he was empowered by Doc Rivers. Maybe Paul George was kind of feeling it out and saying, maybe I'm as good as Kawhi Leonard. There was probably some of that going on. But this year, coming into this season, Paul George said, he said to Kawhi, listen, man, you're the best player on this team. We're going to go as far as you're going to take us. You're the leader on the team. And I think that's clear now. And I think players are more comfortable in their roles. Everybody knows their roles. There are less egos on the team. Last year, you can see that players had a lot of ego. A lot of them had felt like they had arrived. They felt like they had won the title. And I think that came back to bite them in the playoffs, because they would get these leads on teams and they expected teams to go away. Like, just lay down, man. We're obviously better than you. And the Denver Nuggets weren't willing to go away. And then they ended up losing that series, right? And Patrick Beverley said it's just a lack of mental toughness. That was the reason that they lost that series. He said that in training camp this season when he was being asked about the question. Now, the Clippers have been playing poorly as of recent. And it's I had to actually sit down and kind of analyze exactly what's going wrong here, right? They've lost 3 out of their last 4 games. They lost, and these were pretty close games, but they lost to some pretty decent teams. They lost to the Kings just last night in a very close game. Then they lost to the Boston Celtics, which was another close affair. And then they lost to the Brooklyn Nets, right? They lost these 3 games, and they were all close. Now, here are a few things. Kawhi Leonard didn't play well in the closing moments of these games, right? In that Brooklyn Nets game and that Celtics game, and last night, he played probably the worst I've seen him play all season long. He did not play well. By his standards, he didn't play well. And if he had played a little bit better, they would have probably had a better chance to win that game. Because, listen, they had a chance to win the game, right? But he hasn't been playing well. And that may be one reason. No, certainly it's a reason. It's a factor. When your best player is not playing well in crunch time, is going to affect the overall performance of the team and just how far they go. And you saw that last night when they needed Kawhi Leonard to be there. He just wasn't there, and I think he knew that. I think all of us knew that, right? And I was trying to say to myself, okay, so am I going to have an overreaction today, or am I going to have a measured type of approach and analysis to what's actually going on? So I decided to go for the latter. And now let's just actually break down what's actually going wrong here. The Clippers, for the last 2 games, have been without Paul George. Right? They've been without Paul George, and that's a very important piece to lose, right? It's a very important piece to lose. And they've been without Patrick Beverley. And they've been without Patrick Beverley for at least the last 8 games, right? Now, these are starters. It's not like as if they're missing 2 role players. They're missing 2 starters, key starters out of their lineup. Now, with Paul George out, what are the Clippers missing? Number 1, they're missing playmaking. Paul George is a great playmaker. He's very good at penetrating in defense, puncturing the defense, hitting players, hitting teammates for open looks. which really drives the 3-point percentages of his teammates, because when you're getting cleaner looks because of the attention he's drawing and, kind of causing the defense to collapse, it allows their 3-point percentage to go up. That's one of the things Paul George brings to the court. Secondly, his scoring. You're missing about 25 points per game. The last game he played, he scored 36 points, hit 8 out of 9 3-pointers. So you're missing that. You're missing additional floor spacing, which I just alluded to. You're missing defense. Paul George is an exceptional defender. He's one of the best two-way players in all of basketball. You're missing him, right? And a lot of times when you get these switches, when you switch off of Kawhi, who's left, right? You're now left with maybe Reggie Jackson, or sometimes Luke Kennard or Lou Williams. So, and you can see last night and late in the game, they had to keep substituting Lou Williams out because of lack of defense. If he was on the floor, you wouldn't see that. And you're missing clutch play. PG has been come up pretty big in clutch time moments. And I think clutch, now the NBA is describing it as anything under the 2-minute mark or 3 minute. I think the 2-minute mark is now considered crunch time moments. So you're missing him on the court. He's a real, he has a lot of value. If you look at Patrick Beverley, when you're missing a player that can defend quicker point guards. The issue that Kawhi Leonard was having last night, it was difficult for him to stay in front of De'Aaron Fox because De'Aaron Fox is very quick. Patrick Beverley would have done a better job on him and a better job staying in front of him, which would allow Kawhi Leonard to play better help defense. When you have Kawhi Leonard trying to stick him, once he gets past Kawhi, who's there? And you saw that a lot. Once you beat Kawhi, the defense would collapse and you would hit a guy for open dunk or open three or something like that. So you're missing Patrick Beverley's defense. You're missing his defensive intensity, his intensity that he plays with, because he gets on other opponents, but he also gets on his players, and which helps them raise their competitive fervor on the court. And you're missing his 3-point shooting. Patrick Beverley was shooting over 40% from the three. He's a great knockdown 3-point shooter, which keeps the defense honest. So he provides a threat on the floor that no other point guard on that team could provide. Because yes, maybe Lou Williams is a better scorer, maybe Reggie Jackson is a better scorer, but if you think of their lack of defense, it becomes a net loss for the Clippers, in my opinion, right? There's a more balanced kind of production you're getting on the floor, balancing the defense and the offense. But when you lose a guy like that, you just completely throw out the defense, and now you're just stuck with offense. And I think all of these things are beginning to add up, right? Because the Clippers were playing exceptionally well when all of these guys were healthy. It's one thing if their stars were not healthy. If their stars were healthy and then they were losing games. But I haven't seen that yet. This is the first time this season that they've lost 2 games in a row. The first time that it's happened. So given the fact that they're playing so poorly and these injuries are out, I think injuries is the real reason the Clippers are struggling right now. I think it's the injuries, and I think it's beginning to compile it because it's injuries to key players. It's not just any old players. These are starters now that are not playing in the game. Paul George is listed as day to day. We don't know when he's going to come back because I think he's a swollen foot or something like this. And Patrick Beverley, we don't know. He's out. So I think the Clippers are going to continue to struggle if they don't get their key players back. Because they won that game, sure, but you can survive without key players for a small a small stretch of time. But once it starts, once that time begins to get elongated, then all of a sudden you're going to find yourself in situations like this, right? Because now you're expecting other players to step up to the level that they normally don't. And there's a reason why these guys are coming off the bench, right? So listen, I think injuries is the major issue. Yes, Kawhi Leonard could play better. That's also a factor. But I think the number one factor is injuries. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you agree with me that injuries is the key reason that the Clippers are performing so poorly right now, or do you think is another reason? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day, and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.